All right, I guess it's working. Okay, so I guess I'm going to show you how I made some epoxy wrestling tiles. Don't mind whatever you see in the background. So this is what I made. I'll show you. Let's just see if I flip the camera around. Well, that just took a picture. That's not what I was trying to do. All right, so these here is what I made. All right, so they are. Let me get lighting in here. Make you dizzy. There you go. All right, so this is what I made. They're about that thick. So you see about 1/8 of an inch thick, and they're 8x8 tiles. All right, and I made another one. So you see there's 2 of them there. I don't know if you see them both. Here's the other one. So same thing, 8x8 tile. You can see through on the back. You can see the awards, what they are. So my son's got over like, I don't. Well, see that over there? That's just some of the medals. I mean, we don't have them all anymore. But so what I'm gonna do is I designed what I want for the next one, which is right there. I don't know if you guys can see that. That's the setup for the next one. So I put it on there. I put it the way I want it. I get whatever metals I can fit in there, and set up. Also recommending gloves. Just disposable gloves, some rubber gloves. Helps keep you. Other things you're gonna want to get is I got this epoxy resin here, hardener and resiner. I got this from Walmart. I want to say it was in the neighborhood of $30, $20, $30, $40, somewhere in that neighborhood. I don't know. I just ordered another because I realized I don't have enough. Another gallon, comes in a 2-gallon set, a gallon of each one. Because I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 18 of those tiles to make. I made 2 so far. From this set here, I made those 2. I'll probably get 1 more. So we're looking at 3 from how many? From 16 ounces. So we're looking at, I don't know, looking at about 5 ounces per one that I'm doing. The metals obviously take up some space, so that helps absorb some of that. But being a 1/8 inch thick or so, it does use a lot of resin. Second, other things you're going to want to need. I used a cup. What I did is I took the mold, which is right here. I took this mold. I ordered this mold online, so you can see it's not real thick. It's just as thick as I want it to be. It's a flexible, it bends. It's flexible. It's a flexible plastic. I ordered it online. I'll try to find out where I ordered it from, and if you want to check that out, and you can order what they have available. I think somebody just makes them and they send them to you. It took a little bit to get that. Also, very important is you're going to want some of this mold release. I don't know if you can see the mold release. It costs, looks like around $12. Mold release, I got that at I think a Hobby Lobby or something, craft store. Epoxy mold release. And what I did is I sprayed 1 coat on there, and then I'm gonna see if you can see it. Again, I'm gonna spray another coat. Oh, the fan's on in here. So let me take it out here, put it on the floor. I'm just gonna make sure I get it in the corners. So I spray it. So it's pretty well covered with that mold release. I do that twice. The first time I do it, I make sure it gets in the corners. Maybe it's a little runny. I get it in the corners. Maybe rub it around with my hand the first time. The second time, I'm just going to spray it. Turn the fan on, which I got the ceiling fan on, and just let that dry. And mold release seems like it's going to go a long ways. I barely used any. All right, the next thing I want to do is I wasn't sure how much I was going to need. So what I did is I took a plastic cup and I put water into the mold release. I just filled it up with water. It was hard to do. A little bit of spillage. Maybe it's not completely to the top, but I'm adding metals, so that's going to take up some of that space. So what I did is I took this mold release and I poured it, whatever I had in that release, in that mold. I took it and I poured it into a cup. Then I took that cup and I poured it into 2 separate cups, half and half, and I got them, eye level, and I got them both even. Gonna want to make sure you have a level surface, because First time you don't have level surface, all the stuff wants to run away. But I got each cup, so it's half and half, so I knew how much water it took for each one to fill the mold, or mostly fill it. Because I knew that I tried to fill as much as I could. I knew a little spilled, but I also know the metals take up space. Then I took that, poured that out, got those cups, used those, put lines on those cups before I poured the water out of each cup. I put a line on each one, so I knew it was going to be, that's how much of each part epoxy and hardener I was going to need. And I come back, so then I got this cup, and if you see, it's got a green line right there, which comes out, like I said, to approximately 5 ounces. But I wasn't sure how much. This is just, I'm just haphazard doing this, still trying to figure it out. Okay, so now I'm waiting for that mold release to dry inside that there. Then what I'll do next is I'll pour this stuff in one of the cups, and then the other one in the other cup. So I'll have half and half. I will then place them into another cup together. Pour both of those into a cup. If you're doing several, you could reuse that cup. If you're just doing one, don't worry about it. But pour them into a third cup. If you pour them only into one cup, you might get more of one than the other. It has caused a little waste, especially with the thicker one. It's not that big a deal. It is. I mean, it's money, but if you want it done right, you want to make sure you're going to have a good product in the end, a good clear product. You're not going to have too much of one or the other so it doesn't harden or that it's brittle. Go ahead and pour them into a third cup together. Then what I found, because you're not supposed to whip it really and get a bunch of air in there because you got to get the air bubbles out, is I just found a really long screw that I have, like a deck screw, and it's longer than the cup, and I just use that. That's what I use. It's got some grooves on it, so it helps kind of grab and mix. And 5 minutes, just 4 to 7 minutes. I find that I start mixing, I look at the clock, I go about 5 minutes, and then I got all my metals in there. By the time I pour it in there, it's between 4 to 7 minutes. What it says is, on mine at least, for the real glossy kind I got, mix it, it'll turn kind of a white haze, turns back into more clear, but it does have bubbles. Tell you, get rid of the bubbles, real easy. I went to Menards, or Home Depot, I think it was Menards, I got one of these bad boys. Yeah, a little liquid torch there. I still got about half a bottle, so it uses up some of this fluid, because but I tell you what, and maybe I'll demonstrate it or whatever. You turn this thing on, and it is a torch. I mean, so if you got a propane torch, you can use that. And I just tap that, say 4 inches from the top of it, 4 inches from the top of the epoxy, and it takes the bubbles out. I just check it a little. Another key thing, I used a baking sheet. You're going to want to cover it, all right? You're going to want, once you get it done, once you pour the epoxy and get the bubbles out, you're going to want to cover it. You'll come back in a couple minutes and check because some of the bubbles may have rised up. But what I do is I lay a layer of epoxy real thin, put all the metals down there so there's not air trapped underneath, kind of move them a little bit, get them all into place, then pour the rest of the epoxy in that I already stirred for that 4 or 5 minutes, for that, 5 minutes, I'd say at least 5 minutes, between 5 and 6 minutes, stir that, pour it in there, have that all ready to go. It should be level with the top, so if it starts getting more, maybe you have too much epoxy, then cut yourself off. If you don't have enough, you can mix a little more of each, but you got to make sure it's equal amounts, otherwise it won't set right. I've heard horror stories of how, you put a little too much of one or the other, you think it's not that big a deal. You want it 50-50 as best as possible to avoid that issue. And then pour it on top to finish filling it. Make sure you got a level surface. If not, all the epoxy is going to run to one side and it keeps wanting to settle. So it also, I noticed, because mine is such a large mold, it kind of bulges out of the side. So I'm going to have to sandpaper that at the end eventually. But all in all, I think it's pretty good. Maybe I'll make another one of these. I'll post this one, see if people like it. If you have any questions, comment below. And hope you enjoyed it. Bye.